So one thing I think the world doesn't need more of is comfortability. I speak to a lot of business owners that seem to be operating from within this comfort zone of just relying on word of mouth and referrals for their growth. If you ask me, that's just going to lead to stagnation and the eventual decline of their business. So typically the people that I work with have kind of acquired the first few clients through their network. They kind of start a business and they bring over their former employer as a first client, and then that might lead to them speaking to a colleague who might bring in another business. In their environment, in that kind of high ticket sales environment, and in the reality of a startup, that can be okay actually, right? That's not the end of the world, because it allows them to kind of tweak their product or their service, kind of, validate everything in terms of the delivery, in terms of the integration of what they're doing and what have you, right? And the second thing is that they actually can be cash positive with that. In a high ticket enterprise sales environment, you don't need a lot of clients to break even and have somewhat of a sustainable business. But it's in that element as well that the risk is for them, because you can kind of get by and just kind of do okay with just a handful of clients. But you're never really kind of pushed and forced to go out there actively and grow your client base, right? And so the longer these people and these business owners wait with that, the more complicated it gets. Because, sure, here and there you can get another referral sent your way and you can have that conversation, you can close that client, and you might even see a little bit of growth. But generally speaking, lest you have that fire, that real kind of desire, or the kind of drive from external factors such as, running out of cash, you really run the risk of just softly cushioning yourself with that, yeah, we're okay type of an environment sort of thing. And listen, who am I to say that you kind of have to push your business beyond that? But the people that do come to us in our line of business, they do have that kind of want to push their business forward, but they seem to be stuck within that comfort zone. The reason why I wanted this video to be one of the first ones on the channel is because I and we at our agency, we struggle with that as well. And the very act of me sitting here in front of this camera and then putting this video out is me getting out of my comfort zone. You see, for the past 7 years, we've grown our own agency by getting a few referrals here or there, but predominantly by doing the thing that we feel comfortable with, which is direct outreach, prospecting, sales work. It's what we do every day. It's what we do for our clients. So it comes natural to us. And that has obviously, been well for us. It has allowed us to grow our business. But at some point, we need to move outside of that comfort zone to do more. And that's exactly what this is. It's us starting to create content and putting it out there. And I can tell you, it is pretty scary. It's something that doesn't come natural to me. It definitely is outside of my comfort zone. But I know that we need to do it, because growth only happens when you seek out discomfort. Also, if we tell our clients that, hey, just get on with it and just do sales work, any type, get yourself out there, put yourself out there with the chance of being shot down, like we're at risk of being hypocritical and disingenuous, because we're not doing the same thing. But with this effort, we're hopefully alleviating that. So what this content creation effort is for us is what direct sales outreach is for most of the business owners that kind of I end up speaking to. It feels awkward, it feels very uncomfortable, it's scary, it induces anxiety and all the rest of it. I'm sure you know those feelings. And I guess it comes down to that feeling of, who am I to go out there into the world and present my business as if it's something that somebody would and should benefit from, right? I totally get those feelings, and as I'm sitting here right now, I find myself thinking, well, who are you to think that you can create a video and that anybody would want to listen or watch that even, right? So I really just wanted to sit down and kind of share my thoughts along that process, and share some of the things that I have spoken to some of our clients about, and share some of the things that alleviate some of those feelings for us and for me. Now, don't get me wrong, they're never going to completely dissipate. There is going to be an element of kind of just dealing with it and just kind of pushing through that discomfort. But what I found helps a lot is kind of realizing that when you realize you are going to do something that feels uncomfortable, that feels scary, it generally means it's likely to be a positive thing for growth. Whether that is personal or in business, I don't think that really matters. I guess the analogy of like sports, it's going to have to hurt before you get better. I think that's the same in business as well. So typically the things that make us uncomfortable are where the real growth opportunities are. And the simple fact of realizing that has done me a world of good. In the earlier days of entrepreneurship, it was just very difficult to deal with that. But then as you kind of go through the motions and you learn a thing or two, I started kind of seeing that as kind of a little bit of a canary down the mine type of a setup, where when things or concepts feel and look scary, they're worth further investigating. And now, after having gone through a few of these iterations, I really see them as a bit of a notification, something to pay attention to. So another thing that has helped me quite a bit is to kind of think back at situations that I was in the past that made me feel uncomfortable, that made me feel anxious, but that I kind of knew I needed to do, and simply remind myself of how those actions feel right now in comparison to how they were the very first time. That kind of reminds me of the simple fact that it will get better, it will get more comfortable, and it's just kind of a case of pushing through that initial resistance for the first few times. So to give you an example of a situation that very much had that kind of anxiety tag strapped to it for me was the fact, the concept of hiring people, members of staff, bringing them on payroll. So in the beginning, our company was kind of, doing okay. It was very much, kind of business owner, operator driven. It was kind of my partner and myself and one person driving the business forward. But we got to this point where we knew that if we were going to try and take that leap, kind of move to that next level, we were going to have to do something quite fundamental, which is bringing people on board, bringing them onto the payroll, and then having to deal with that entire process. Onboarding, training, social legislation, payroll, all the things that brings with it. And so that, obviously, when you think of that, is it's a big leap, and it made me scary, or it scared me. So that whole concept, obviously, back then was a very scary thought. You have all these ideas and these thoughts running through your head about, is this going to break our business? Is this actually going to help us? Maybe we should just stay where we are. We're kind of fine here. And you kind of have that internal discussion. And so just now thinking back about that whole kind of thought process helps me whenever I'm faced with a new situation, because now we've hired a few people, we've gone through it a few times, and it has moved from uncomfortable to relatively comfortable. Don't get me wrong, HR isn't something I particularly enjoy, but at least it's something that doesn't scare the living daylight out of me at this moment in time. So just thinking back about how that transition happened back then and is very likely to happen for me then, content creation, I sincerely hope it will get a bit more comfortable. It helps me, or it helps alleviate some of that fear. And then one thing I want to address, which is very particular to what we do with our clients and for our clients. So our clients typically struggle with this notion of jumping from, just relying on their network to kind of putting themselves out there, cold connecting with people, presenting their business, and yes, again, putting themselves out there with the risk of people telling them, I don't agree with what you've built, with what you offer, I don't need what you offer, essentially dealing with rejection. Not a nice thing, everybody struggles with that, and if somebody tells you they're not fazed by that, don't believe them. I think they're lying to you. Back to the thing that helps alleviate some of that stress for our clients is the realization that what they have built isn't supposed to be for everyone, right? They're supposed to build something that is a solution to a problem that is a specific problem to a specific part of the market. If that's what they've done, then that foundational element is set up correctly. But once they go out of their way to try and speak to people, the first thing they should do from a sales perspective is figure out whether or not that business, that person, is in the situation that allows them to help them with what they have created, either their product or their service. And they should be very open about that in their communication as well, in that, hey, I don't know that what I do is of service to you, is of help, but that's why I'm reaching out to just kind of try and figure that out. Then if the other person tells them, no, it's not, because of a variety of reasons, we've got it covered, we don't struggle with that problem, that's not us, that's fine, because it means that you shouldn't even entertain the concept of a further conversation with that person. The goal for these people with that kind of direct outreach, for the people that we work with, is to simply outline and uncover the people that do acknowledge that they are in that situation and potentially leave the door open for a conversation. So once we kind of try and instill that concept into the minds of the people that we work with, again, it alleviates some of the stress. And the way that you do that is by making it clear in your head, but then also applying that kind of concept in the way that you reach out to people, in the way that you cold approach them, right? And with that, I'd like to wrap this very first video. Thank you very much for watching. If you liked it, and if you found some value, then giving the video a like would be very much appreciated. Perhaps even consider subscribing to the channel. It would help. Thanks so much for that if you do. So if you got any questions, please jump into the comment section and ask away. I'll do my best to get back to you as quickly as I can and help you out. Thanks again. I look forward to seeing you in one of the next videos. Bye-bye.